Today, guys, we're going to talk about erectile dysfunction. The goal will be to debunk the claim that erectile dysfunction is simply something that is only caused by porn. And instead, I'll really expose what's really going on. Why is it that we have erectile dysfunction in the first place, so that we can then treat it properly from the root and not have to struggle with it anymore. And look, I'm not saying that this video is a magic pill. This video will expose the truth about erectile dysfunction, and as a byproduct, you can literally decide, and I'm not exaggerating, you can literally decide to not have erectile dysfunction anymore. So let's get into it. What if what most men call erectile dysfunction is not what they think it is? Most men, they believe that their past use of porn, or of masturbation broke something inside of them. Or they believe that because they left porn even months ago, not just a few weeks or a few days ago, but for a lot of people I talk to, it's months ago, they feel like their body hasn't healed yet. So they go to a doctor, they try to get a pill, and of course these pills can work. Of course they work on their body, but oftentimes that is accompanied with a belief that, oh, look, I have a disease and I'm dependent on a certain pill. And for other people that do not go that route, they live in this constant fear of, what if the next time I have intimacy with a woman, I'm going to experience this again? And it's embarrassing for a lot of people to experience this. But here's the problem. That belief itself is what keeps them stuck. So in this video, we're going to go over what is really happening. We're going to back it up with real research and give you a completely different way to understand this. Let me give you a real life example that you can relate to. Have you ever tried to get aroused in a place where you could easily get caught? Maybe someone was in the room right next to your room, or maybe you were in a totally new environment that you had some form of fear around doing it, like somewhere risky or somewhere uncomfortable. What happened? It was so much harder to get aroused, so much. And even though you were by yourself, we're talking about masturbation here, it's like you had temporary erectile dysfunction. We often disregard those events, but that's the truth. You did not have a disease in that moment, at least you didn't think that. Nothing was wrong with your body, you were just stressed out. Your mind was so focused on the fear and the shame, not on the experience itself. So your arousal is not blocked by damage only, it is blocked by where your mind is focused on. Now, your mind can only hold one thought at a time. So here's a simple fact most people never think about, they forget about it. Your mind can only focus on one thought at a time. You can switch between thoughts quickly. Sure, you can think about intimacy, then you can think about work, then you can think about your relationships. That's a possibility. But you cannot have two thoughts at the same time. You cannot have more than one thought at the same time. It is impossible. And there's even research on this that they did at Stanford University. They saw that people that multitask ended up doing less and ended up doing worse than those that were simply focused on one thing. Because your brain, your mind is not built to have so many things going on at the same time. Sure, you might feel productive, but you're not objectively. Now apply this to intimacy. To feel aroused, your mind needs to be focused on one thing: the experience, the closeness, the attraction, the moment, the emotions. When your mind is focused on that, your body then responds. There's also another study that I want to point out that they did in the Journal of Behavior Research and Therapy, where they saw that the men who were distracted by non-sexual thoughts during intimacy, they showed much lower physical arousal. But when their attention was fully on the experience, arousal was strong and normal. The problem was not the body, it was where the mind was focused. The problem was not the body, it was where the mind was focused. Remember that. So what is actually happening during intimacy? Picture this. There are many examples. I'll just give a few. You're about to be intimate with someone you find beautiful, your wife, let's say. This should be a great moment. But instead of being present, your mind starts racing. You think, and this is what most people think, they don't think that these thoughts are the reason why they have the erectile dysfunction in the first place, why they can't fully be aroused. But they think, what if I do not perform well? What if she judges me because I'm not aroused, or because I'm not experienced? What if she tells other people or friends, I'm nervous? What if I'm still addicted, and because of that, I still have erectile dysfunction like back in the days? From coaching people, what I saw with my own eyes is, for example, students who were married and in the past they were watching porn, they were masturbating, and because of that, or at least they thought that because of that, they got erectile dysfunction whilst they were having intimacy. Then they quit porn and masturbation because NoFap tells them, well, the reason why you have erectile dysfunction is simply because you watch too much porn. So they think, well, the moment I remove the porn, I am supposed and I expect that I'm never ever going to experience this embarrassing moment where I am not aroused in front of my own wife. And it's awkward, it's embarrassing, and it's a painful moment for people. Not painful physically, but mentally. They're like, am I even a man? I can't even be aroused. My wife is not going to be satisfied with this. It might create trouble in our relationship. So you see, the worry is so high. They expect to never experience this again because they're on day 60 now, they're on day 90 now of no porn, no masturbation. Then they get it. And then because they expect it so much, what happens is the more you try to not think of a pink elephant, well, what do you think about? You think about the pink elephant. The more you're focused on, am I going to be aroused or not? Like, I should be aroused because I'm on day 90 now. Well, the more that's going to be the focus. And remember, your mind can only hold one thought at a time. Therefore, if your focus is on these thoughts and not on the experience itself, then you will not be fully aroused. So remember, if that one thought is fear, then it is not on intimacy. And if your mind is not on intimacy, then your body cannot respond. That is not a disease. That is just how the mind works. There was a major review published by the European Society of Sexual Medicine, and they confirmed that psychological factors like anxiety, fear, negative thinking are the leading cause of erectile dysfunction in young men. Not physical damage, not past habits, the mind. Most people watching this are somewhat very healthy. We're not in our 60s, 70s, where we literally have trouble getting it up. I coach people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. They come to me, they do not even have a problem with being aroused. But you find it in people that are, for example, 25 and above. Why is that? Is it because of their body? I'm pretty sure it's not just a question of health, and it's purely a psychological thing. There was another study also that found that men with erectile difficulties had much higher levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Now, why am I saying this? It's because in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, we say that your mind creates the emotions, like stress. Your thoughts create the emotions because emotions are cognitive products. If someone cuts me off in traffic, do I feel angry because the car cut me off and it's just cause and effect? Like, if anyone cuts off anyone in traffic, I'll feel angry? No, it's because I interpret that differently. I started thinking, oh, this guy, I need to be angry at him. Like, he shouldn't be doing this to me. This is unfair. That's an insult to me. Why did he cut me off? You see, these thoughts playing in your mind are what then creates that emotion. Because someone could be cut off in traffic and think, oh, this guy just did a stupid mistake, or oh, maybe I am in the wrong. Am I driving properly? And then that person having these thoughts will not even feel angry. They'll just feel neutral. So stress, or what creates the stress, literally shuts down the system your body needs to become aroused. Let me give you real life examples so I make it easy for you to understand what's really going on. Have you ever gotten really bad news? I'm talking like a warning at your job that you might get laid off, or a fear of being laid off because you've seen other people get fired, or a fight with a close friend of yours, or you get insulted, laughed at, humiliated, and then you try to do something that you love, something that you typically enjoy. For example, playing a sport, watching a movie, hanging out with your friend. You will see that in those moments, you could not enjoy it the same way because your mind, except if you decided otherwise, but for most people, your mind just kept going back to the bad news. You were not fully present. I experienced this myself. When I was younger and I got bullied, and I talk about this often, it really shocked me. I remember going to play hockey afterwards, which was one of my favorite things. It was the sport that I would play the most. I would watch hockey games at night. I would play the NHL game on the Xbox, which is the hockey video game. I loved it. And I remember there was one day where I was very young, maybe 13, and there was a kid that insulted me, and I got so mad and angry that I just punched him straight on the nose. And he didn't expect that because I was a people pleaser. I was trying to be nice with everyone so I could have friends. And it was the first year of high school in Canada. And then that guy got mad at me and he started punching me when we were in the bus. And that shocked me. I I was crying. I was so mad. I couldn't even pull my head back up. I was so scared of people seeing me crying. And I had a hockey game that night. And I went there. I just remember being in the changing room, which is usually one of these moments where you're really excited. You know, in a few minutes, you're going to go on the ice. You're going to be playing against a team. It's going to be fun. There's going to be competition. And I just couldn't enjoy anything. And I couldn't be excited. I was just thinking so much about that. I was so worried about that the same thing that I used to be so passionate about, so excited about, I was like, it'll be fun, but at the same time, I was too worried that I couldn't enjoy anything. So the same exact thing happens with intimacy. If your mind is on worry instead of the moment, your body will not fully respond. And that is not a disease. Your mind is just doing what minds do, focusing on what it sees as the biggest threat. And there's a danger in calling it a disease. When a man experiences this, what does society tell him? You have erectile dysfunction, you have a condition, here, take the pill. So he takes a Viagra. And I'm not here to judge these products, these supplements, these solutions, these pills. They of course work for people, but the big reason as to why they work is simply the placebo effect. When you take a pill, you not expect to be aroused. In your mind, it's not even an option to not be aroused because you're taking something which everyone knows this is going to help you with erectile dysfunction. And of course, there's certain chemicals inside of this that actually helps with blood flow, for example. Your mind literally shifts from worry of, oh, will I be aroused again? Last time I couldn't be aroused, to confidence because you think, well, this pill probably works. There's no way it doesn't work. It's the most popular pill on the market. There must be a reason for that. So your mind is no longer filled with fear. It is filled with expectation. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And since your mind is no longer blocking the process, your body responds. I don't need to worry about this. Let me focus on the experience itself. And there were clinical trials for erectile dysfunction treatments, and 25 to 50% of men who received a sugar pill with zero medicine reported real improvement. The mind alone created the change. No medicine was needed. And you can even tell by personal experience. When you're alone in your room and you start fantasizing about intimacy, it's so easy to be aroused. When you're alone and you masturbate and you watch porn and you're aroused, you think it's because of all of these beautiful women that are on the screen. And sure, maybe you add to the fantasy, which then gets you aroused because a fantasy is essentially your thoughts. You're thinking about having intimacy, but you don't need to perform. There's no worry. There's no, oh, she might judge me, she might reject me, she might tell her friends. There's none of that. It's like practicing a presentation, like those presentations you would do at school when you were young, or maybe those that you do in your business or in your career. Practicing by yourself, it's easy. You can say these things, you can take your time. Even if you mess up, it's no big deal. So your performance is great, it's top. But then when there's people in front of you, it's a completely different game. Suddenly, you have to perform. But here's the thing, and the same thing is going to apply to intimacy and erectile dysfunction. The more you practice presenting in front of a group of people, the less worried, and therefore, you're going to perform better. Apply the same logic to intimacy. Oftentimes, a big issue that a lot of people have, they're, for example, in a marriage and they don't get the intimacy that they want. A very, very common issue I see. They don't get the intimacy that they want. Their wives do not want to partake in intimacy. They're not interested anymore. Of course, there are reasons for that. There are factors. So when they do get it, then they want to satisfy their wife so that they can get more of that. Because they think, well, if my wife is satisfied, then she's probably going to ask more. So you don't practice much in those instances. Maybe you have intimacy once a month. Sometimes it's once every 90 days. And on top of that, you pressure yourself to perform because you really want to make the most out of it. So the real problem was never the body. The difficulty was created by focusing on something other than intimacy. And studies show that erectile dysfunction affects somewhere around 8 and 26% of men under 40. That is a lot of young, healthy guys. And we're talking about under 40. So is it just a question of health? That's the question I'm asking you. Another study published where they looked at healthy men with erectile difficulties. The majority of cases were psychological in origin. Performance anxiety, stress, relationship worries, and negative self-talk were the main drivers. So that's just more proof, more evidence. It's really that sexual performance anxiety blocks that ability to focus on the experience itself, and because of that, they cannot fully be aroused, they cannot fully enjoy the experience. So the bottom line, to feel aroused, your mind needs to be focused on intimacy. That is it. If your mind is filled with anxiety, worry, fear, or any kind of stress, you can't be fully aroused, and you might mistake that for a disease, for a flaw inside of you because of porn, because of masturbation, masturbation because of a lack of testosterone. And sure, these play a part. Sure, if you masturbate so much to the point where your genitals are tired, then of course it's going to be harder for you to be aroused. It's going to maybe even hurt. These are factors, but for the most part, the main reason why people have problems with being aroused, erectile dysfunction, is simply because of that sexual performance anxiety and everything that comes with it. And it's simply a question of your mind is in the wrong place. And once you see that clearly, it can never control you again. Guys, if you want to learn how to quit porn and masturbation forever, I made a full course that I used to share with my clients. It's now available for free. You can watch it. The link is going to be in the description. And anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.